Well, damn. That's good for my self-esteem. Should come here more often.
We were talking earlier tonight.
Take that, Anderson Cooper.
I asked Van how much we could talk about him versus how much we would talk about what's going on in this country in the upcoming election. And Van, in a wonderfully humble way, you're like, less about me, more about the state of the country. So I'm just going to start off with one question about you. I was listening to an interview where you talked about what you were like as a kid. Very different, it sounds like, than today. You ate lunch like underneath the bleachers, away from everybody, kind of, it sounded like a more shy, quiet kid. If Van Jones today could talk to that kid and say, here's who you become and here's how you got there, how would you explain it to that earlier version of yourself?
If I could talk to that kid, I would say, learn martial arts. These wedgies are not optional. I mean, not acceptable. It's hard to imagine, honestly. I grew up on the edge of a small town in rural West Tennessee called Jackson, Tennessee. What? Hey, Madison County? Awesome. Hey, good. You and me after. No, like I was like a little skinny bully magnet. I was the nerd that the other nerds picked on, so they would feel better about themselves having been picked on by the. I mean, I had issues, man, and so you grow up on the edge of a small town, with gravel road. No sewage, septic tank, no sewage, no street lights, so just stars at night. And we used to have these things called frogs. Remember those? Have you heard one in the past 10 years? No? Kind of scary. And it wasn't easy being someone who liked books. It wasn't easy being somebody who liked to draw. It wasn't easy being somebody who liked to write stories or poems. It wasn't easy. We would have, animals would get run over in the road, and I would cry. It would hurt to see like somebody's dog that you had seen earlier in the summer, and now they're dead. So my parents didn't know what to do with me. And I'm so lucky though that my mom was very kind, and she encouraged me. And she was a school teacher, so she would bring typing paper, sneak it out of the principal's office, and bring it home for me to write on and draw on. And I learned a lot about empathy. I know what it feels like to be left out. I know what it feels like to be the last one picked, or not picked at all. They would pick me to be the scorekeeper. Nobody wanted me on their team. And so all of a sudden, I get to 12th grade and I grow like 6 inches. And you don't forget that. I remember coming home from college, and my father, who was a tough guy, military guy, big guy, scary guy, hard worker, hard drinker, hard smoker. Smoking killed him in the end. And he said he retired from being a public school principal. And he said, boy, come in here and get some of these suits. I'm retired now, I need these suits. And I said, Daddy, I can't wear your suits. And I put them on and they barely fit. because I was as big as he was. But in my mind, I was still that little skinny kid getting pushed around the playground. And so I don't have a good explanation. I couldn't wait to get to college. My mom told me in high school, she said, Anthony, what's my name? Van is a made-up name for TV. But it's cool, ain't it? That's a cool-ass name. Van Jones. It sounds good. Like Anthony Jones, it doesn't sound as good. But my mom told me, she said, Anthony, you're in high school. Some of your peers, 20 years from now, they're going to still be talking about high school and what they did and the fun they had and all the stuff they did. That for them, this is their golden moment. For you, it is not going to be. Your golden moment's going to happen later. So let them have their fun. Let them have their prom. Let them have all those things. Your moment will come later. And so I had that guidance from my mom. So when I got to college, I hit college like a hurricane because suddenly it wasn't bad to be smart. And I went to the University of Tennessee at Martin. And in those days, I was born in '68. So in the '80s, we still had people fighting to get kids like me into the state colleges. The state colleges were still almost lily white. And so I wound up with a minority scholarship to go to the University of Tennessee at Martin, known because we had the very famous school in Tennessee, University of Tennessee at Martin, #3 rodeo program. Yeah, I know you're jealous. But they also had a communications department. And I became a journalist, and I did really well. All that reading and writing paid off. I got a job offer from the Associated Press at 21 years old, got a job offer from Gannett News Service at 21 years old, and turned them all down. Because when I was working in those southern newspapers, I saw a lot of racism, and I didn't want to be a part of it. And I had a professor who encouraged me to apply to law school. Long story short, I wound up taking the LSAT and scoring in the 96th percentile. And suddenly, I go from being this weird little nerdy kid on University of Tennessee at Martin's campus, doing newspapers and drawing editorial cartoons, to getting accepted to Yale and Harvard and Stanford and Vanderbilt for law school. And then really, it was really okay to be smart. Like, I got dates. This was amazing. I was like almost nobody was on the rodeo team. So, and then from there, I felt like I had gotten a golden ticket. And I'm going to school with all these rich folks' kids. And they had gone to Andover. And I'd never heard of Andover. And they had gone to Oxford. And I said, is that a school in Boston? Like, what is that? And they had all these words I hadn't heard. They said, well, you seem to be here for egalitarian purposes. Yes. And I wasn't really prepared. I had done well in that environment, but now I'm with the big folks' kids. And I called my dad and I said, like, I don't even understand what these people are saying. I really don't. I mean, somebody said something's paradigmatic of something else. I said, does that mean you have venereal disease? Like, what are you talking about? I didn't understand what they were saying. And so my dad told me, he said, look, you ain't prepared. You're not. Those kids do know more than you because they've read more books than you. But if you read the same books, you'll know everything they know. But they're never going to know what you know. They're never going to know what you know. So he said, outwork them, son. Outwork them. And that's what I did. I outworked them. I worked circles around them. And by the time I graduated, I was so-called top of the class, whatever you want to call it. And I immediately, when I left Yale Law School, I went to Oakland, California. 24-year-old black kid with dreadlocks and a law degree. So I immediately started suing cops. Oh, they should have never let me out of Yale Law School. I immediately started suing cops and prisons, and I was on the left side of Pluto. I was considered a left-wing activist in Berkeley, California. Do you know how hard that is? That's like being a conservative in Mississippi. You got to work hard. You got to work weekends. So, did that, burned out. Too many funerals with young people in the caskets. Too sensitive. Burned out. Couldn't do that. Started trying to get those same young kids jobs in the solar industry. Started trying to get poor black and brown kids who were standing on street corners in Oakland in front of my house, getting on my nerves. I said, I'd rather you guys have jobs putting solar panels on top of my house. Get off these street corners. And we created a program in Oakland called the Oakland Green Jobs Corps, taking young black and brown kids right out of juvenile hall and getting them trained to put up solar panels. And a young lady named Nancy Pelosi, who had just become the Speaker of the House in 2007, heard about my program, took me by the hand to Washington, D.C., and she had me testify in front of every one of her committees saying, look, this kid, Van Jones, he's fighting pollution and poverty at the same time. He's fighting pollution and poverty at the same time. The most important work that needs to be done, powering America, he's giving it to the kids who most need work. What can we do to help them? And a guy named George W. Bush was so inspired by what we were doing that he and Pelosi joined forces and passed a bill called the Green Jobs Act of 2007 to take my little program from Oakland and spread it all across the country. And that happened in 2007. I wrote a book about that in 2008, became a bestseller, and a guy named Barack Obama read the book. Then he got a promotion. And he brought me to the White House and had me run the program for him of the $337 billion stimulus package. $80 billion was for green and clean solutions. But to make sure that those solutions got down to the grassroots, he put me in charge of that program. So I went from running a $120,000 a year program in Oakland and then a $120 million a year program through the Department of Labor to running an $80 billion program for Barack Obama. So and so what would I say to that little kid?
He didn't need martial arts after all, did he?
I say it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. You don't have to fit in. with everybody else. God made you for a purpose. No pressure, no diamonds. No pressure, no diamonds. Sometimes the pressure of resisting that peer pressure to just go along with the crowd and do whatever they're doing to fit in. When you resist that that pressure turns you into something good, something that's usable, something that's helpful. You know, it doesn't feel good at first, but I'm proud of that kid. I'm proud of that kid. That kid made good choices. And once he got big and strong, he tried to help people. So I'm proud of that kid.
One theme that I hear so clearly in your life, in your narrative, is that theme of empathy for the animals in your hometown, for the kids that you worked with, and how that put pressure on the diamond that you became. And I think it's that same empathy that makes you the most authentic voice in the world of not just CNN, but broadcast news right now. We are at this critical moment in our nation's history. Where do you see us at right now? What do you think is going to happen in a couple of weeks?
We're on a glide path to losing to Donald Trump.
I just wanted to let that sit for a minute, because, no, I mean, that's and I think this man knows a thing or two about it, and just hearing how that resonated in this room, like there was a verbal response. So, Van, tell us why. Why is that going to happen?
Because nobody's working. Nobody's working. People are doom scrolling. People in their WhatsApp groups complaining about stuff. People are reposting things that make them feel good. I don't see anybody working. I don't see people. I remember 2008. People were working. People were volunteering on phone banks. People were working. People were going to Nevada and sleeping on floors and going and knocking on doors. People were working. I know what it feels like when Democrats are about to win. And I know what it feels like when we're about to lose. And you think about it. Who on your Facebook page is posting pictures of them doing house parties to phone bank? Nobody. Who in your friend group is texting you saying, I'm on my way to Georgia because I called in sick and lied and said I had COVID because I'm going to spend a week with my former college classmate in Atlanta knocking on doors? Nobody. People got excited for 15 minutes, sent some money into the campaign, and are pretending you haven't noticed that this campaign sucks. Have you seen an ad that moved you? I don't hear a lot of people saying, yeah, a couple. Look, you haven't seen a lot? One or two. It's $1 billion campaign. One or two. And where'd you see him? Watching me on CNN. Why in the hell are they putting ads on CNN? Isn't everybody watching CNN gonna vote for Kamala anyway? That would be called wasted money. Why are you putting ads on MSNBC for Kamala Harris? Isn't everybody watching MSNBC gonna vote for Kamala Harris? Why is the money not going to the grassroots? This is going to come down to 3 states, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan. There are 4 black cities, Milwaukee, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh. Why isn't the money going to the grassroots to get those grandmamas and those young folks standing on street corners to the polls? What's going on here? This is the same pathway we were on in 2016. A big, bloated, arrogant campaign that is not spending money at the grassroots level, burning cash on dumb ads that nobody cares about, on TV shows nobody's watching, while everybody who supposedly thinks we're on, we're one step away from fascism is not acting like they are. That's what they see. If you were looking at a country, not this one, some other country, and they said, we are 3 weeks away from a fascistic takeover, would you expect the citizens to be doing something? Do you see people doing anything commensurate with the threat? So we are on a pathway to losing. And everybody gets mad at me when I say it. But the good thing about me is I didn't come in through the front door. I was the most unlikely person to be sitting next to Anderson Cooper as has ever been in American television. I didn't come up a normal way through the Democratic Party. I didn't come up a normal way through broadcast journalism. I don't get paid by the party. I don't get paid by candidates. So I'm just like y'all. What y'all doing?
Well, let's talk about what your former boss was doing just a couple hours ago tonight. Former President Barack Obama was in Pennsylvania campaigning for Kamala Harris, and he spoke quite specifically to what many people believe to be the case, that there are plenty of black male voters out there who will not vote for Kamala Harris and will likely vote for Donald Trump. Why do you think that is?
Look, I love President Obama. Let me start over. I love Obama and her husband. I want to get the order right. This is a tough question. We're all friends here, so I'm going to tell you how I honestly feel about it. First of all, it's annoying to me to hear all this criticism of black men and how we're going to vote. Black men are going to outvote in terms of voting for Kamala Harris. You look at all the groups in the country, none of whom are being criticized but us, and ask who is going to vote for Kamala Harris. Black men will outvote all the white women. White women will probably be 50-50 for Trump. Nobody's attacking them. That's okay. Black men will outvote all the white men. They're going to be probably 70-30 Donald Trump. Nobody's mad at them. Black men will outvote all the Latin vote, male, female, and otherwise. Nobody's mad at the Latin vote. Black men will outvote all the Asians, male, female, and otherwise. The only group that will outvote black men for Kamala are black women, who are better than everybody anyway. So that ain't even fair. So black men are literally going to outvote everybody, and we're still in trouble. Black men are going to outvote everybody except for black women, and we're still wrong. We're going to outvote everybody but black women, and we're still the problem. Black men are the problem no matter what we do. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Now listen, why should black men vote for the Democratic Party? We're all friends here. Let's just be honest. If I ask you, what is the Democratic Party going to do for women of all colors? You will say, defend abortion and stick up for women's rights. If I ask, what's the Democratic Party going to do for immigrants? Despite this tough stance the party's taking, we know it's comprehensive immigration reform with dignity and honor for immigrants. If I ask what we're going to do for the trans community, we're going to protect trans rights. What are we going to do for black men? I'll wait. Obamacare, that's the answer. Do you see what I'm saying? Police reform. And by the way, I'm so glad Somebody said police reform. I'm so glad. George Floyd Police Reform Act. Did it pass or not under Biden? Zero, zilch, nunca, nada, nothing on police reform. No cash bail is not a federal issue, but let's just walk through the three things that black men thought we were going to get from Biden. And let's just be honest here. If you're going to pick on black men and blame us for everything, what did you deliver to black men in the past 4 years? What did we want? We wanted three things. We wanted the George Floyd Police Reform Act, didn't get it. We wanted the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, didn't get it. And we wanted the Equal Act, the next step in criminal justice reform, and didn't get that. Three things we wanted, got zero, zilch, nunca, nada, nothing, and then people are going to say, well, blame Congress. Well, hold on a second. Everybody else got something. The labor unions got something. The Asian hate crimes bill passed. You can walk through 15 other constituencies that got something. We got zero, zilch, nunca, nada, nothing. And then you say Obamacare, which was 15 years ago. And by the way, we're all friends here. What did black men get under Donald Trump? Ooh, quiet, quiet. You say nothing. Black colleges? Yes, yes. Black, hey, listen, you definitely don't want to debate me on this stuff. I'll tell you right now, I do it for a living. I do it for a living. That's my martial arts. Listen, look, Donald Trump did 9,999 horrific things and should be escorted to Mars and should never be president. But he did three good things. First Step Back, criminal justice reform. I was in the Oval Office when he signed the bill. Criminal justice reform, not Fox News, Supreme Court, not the Fox News, but the New York Times called that the most substantial breakthrough in criminal justice in a generation. What did it do? It let 35,000 people out of federal prison. I'll say it again. If I got 35 people out of federal prison under Donald Trump, I deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. We didn't get 35. We got 35,000 out. How did it happen? Yes, Kim Kardashian, one of my closest friends in the world. Yes, sir, I'm not joking. Kim Kardashian, yes. And you should be proud because no black celebrities would go in there and do a goddamn thing. All these black celebrities that lived in the White House for 8 years under Obama, saying they cared about you, cared about your children, cared about your neighborhood, the minute Trump went in there, not one would go. And Kim went. Kim Kardashian went. And she got 35,000 people out of prison. So, it's important that we tell the truth. People want to be so PC and then they're shocked by what's going on. The reality is that we got 35,000. And by the way, I got my butt kicked by liberals for going and cutting that deal. But of those 35,000 people who came home under Donald Trump, ordinarily by now, and you know this, ordinarily by now, 70% of them would be back in prison. That's just how it works. But not ordinarily. They don't train them. They don't give them any help, etc. But under the First Step Act, guess what? It wasn't 70% who got back in trouble. It wasn't 60%. It wasn't 50%. It wasn't 40%. It wasn't 30%. It wasn't 20%. It was 15% that got in trouble again. Half of those were technical violations. Only 8% got in trouble again. The most successful prison reform in the history of prisons, signed into law by Donald Trump. And when he signed it, he handed me the pen. Now, if you don't believe in miracles, I just told you about one. Now, why don't we talk about that? Hakeem Jeffries was involved. Nancy Pelosi was involved. Van Jones was involved. Kim Kardashian was involved. And also Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner. But we don't talk about that because we can't give any credit to Donald Trump because we're so afraid that if we give honest credit, that people are going to be so stupid that black people are going to go vote for Donald Trump. But black people were very happy to have people come home from prison and voted for him anyway. So why can't we tell the truth about it? Also, he did do more for black colleges on a permanent basis than Obama. On that one, then Biden doubled down and did better. But Trump actually did more for black colleges than Barack Obama. It's just a fact. It's true. And also, the opportunity zones were passed. Some of that was shady, some of it was good, but at least it was an effort, and Tim Scott was behind that. So now, look how quiet everybody is. You have a problem with your party. You're not doing anything to help black men, and your answer is to tell us to shut up and vote and criticize us. But we're not stupid enough to fail to notice that there's no heart for us. And by the way, all of us are not in prison. And all of us don't deal with the cops every day. Some of us want us to have businesses. Some of us want to be innovators. Some of us want to be entrepreneurs. Some of us want to be heads of household. We could use help from the Small Business Administration. We could use some help. We could use some respect. We could use some support. But the level of contempt and disregard, shut up and vote, whatever you got was enough. And by the way, if we're going to be real about it, neither one of these parties has an attitude toward gender that really is good for black men. Neither one of these parties do. What? Black farmers need help and could get, and look, I will say Biden has tried harder on that than anybody. I'll give him credit on that. We haven't gotten there yet, but he has tried harder on that than anybody. That's a good point. But there's a pain here. There's a pain here. And if other members of the coalition have pain, people listen. But for some reason, when it's us, people don't. And it's obvious. So when you're on the ground in Philadelphia, as I am, and in Pittsburgh, as I am, and in Detroit, as I'm going to, and you talk to the young men, they don't feel that they have a place. The masculinist approach of a Donald Trump says about your pain, shut up, take it, toughen up, boys don't cry, be a man about it. That doesn't sound very friendly. But then the feminist take is, shut up because you're the problem in the first place. Shut up because you're the problem in the first place. So we're being told to shut up either way. Now, between those two choices, shut up, you're the problem, and shut up, toughen up, and be a man, the second one is more appealing. At least you acknowledge my problem and tell me to do something about it, as opposed to saying, I am the problem. Look, this is real. And despite the disrespect, the disregard, the pain, the number of funerals that you got young men going to more, who are 25 years old in Philadelphia, young men who are 27 years old in Milwaukee, who have been to way more funerals for their friends than graduations. Think about the pain of that. Think about the trauma of that. If we're talking about any other group, your heart would be exploding. Oh my God. Young women are going to more funerals because people are dying of eating disorders or suicide. Young women are going to more funerals. Oh my, what are we going to do? You said about black men, it's like, meh. That translates. So don't be surprised. So you need us to vote at 87, 88% for Kamala to win. And we're going to vote about 82. I'll vote everybody. But it's not what you need. And that gap is not the gap of a deficiency in us. There's a deficiency in this party. There's a deficiency in this party. And trying to paper over it and pretend that what people are feeling isn't right is driving more men to the couch. Ain't gonna be a lot of men that go vote for Donald Trump in our community. There will be more than should. Should be zero. So there'll be more than should. A lot of folks are just not gonna vote.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I want to be cautious of our time here. We do want to give some time to audience questions. So while we're getting the first one, Van, can you explain a little bit about if Kamala Harris were to call you today and say, we've got a couple weeks left, Van, what do we do? What would you tell her?
Oh, we can still win now. I'm trying to get y'all scared so you do something. I'm trying to get you scared so you go home. Shoot, I just heard from Van Jones. I'm calling everybody I know. I'm not expecting to lose. I said we're on a glide path to losing. That's a part of the problem. The other part of the problem is just laziness on our part because we're just so happy tweeting and stuff. And on little groups and like finding little things on Instagram to like, I'm definitely sharing this.
Do you feel, though, because I know we've got a question coming up soon, but I'm so with you, and, because I like to live in the yes and world, I also look at the Zooms and all of the things that I've never seen happen in campaigns before. In this siloed mobile phone world, is there anything about it that we will look back in the history books and say, this part of it was kind of cool, or is it all just...
No, look, it's all great, but we got to win. Look, I assume that if you came to see me, you probably are not a huge Trump fan. So, wouldn't you like to win? I mean, wouldn't that be great? Like, wouldn't it be amazing? Like, to be like, wow. Like, do you want to be a panelist? We'll come back tomorrow for you. I promise. Yeah, but I don't mind the dialogue. I'm just saying, you can come up here if you want to. Look, I would like to win. We got to win. I would like to win. But this is the fourth quarter huddle talk. Guys, we're down by a field goal. What we are doing has gotten us within striking range, but we're not there yet. Talk about how dumb Trump supporters are, how terrible black men are, and posting stuff. That's not going to lead to victory. What's going to lead to victory is you acting like you're in the country on the verge of an authoritarian takeover. And whatever you would do in that scenario, you should be doing tomorrow. Fake COVID. Clear your calendar. I'm not joking. And act like you're trying to win something that matters. I need to see some fight. Everybody, well, what should Kamala do? I don't know. What should you do? Everybody sits up here and does, this is not fantasy football. Saying, well, if I were Kamala, what I would do? It's like, well, you're not Kamala. You are you. What can you do? We're going to win or lose by less than 10,000 votes in Pennsylvania. We'll probably win or lose by less than 5,000 votes in Michigan and Wisconsin. It's literally about 15 to 20,000 people that are going to determine the entire outcome for planet Earth, for climate, for Ukraine, for everything. And you can impact this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If everybody in here impacted 10 people, that could be the election. That's how close it's going to be. So I'm trying to scare the crap out of you because you are being misinformed. We are a field goal down. It's the fourth quarter. Now, I wish Kamala Harris would go and do living room tours in the Philly suburbs and be pictured in photographs sitting down with ordinary people, everyday people in the Philly suburbs, including, frankly, Jewish voters, reassuring them that they can count on her. Did you think Kamala Harris works for me? I can't even get Anderson to listen to me. And I sit next to Anderson every day. So look, I can tell you, I wish she would do a bunch of barbershop tours and be seen as listening to the young brothers. She doesn't have to have an answer for them. They're not so stupid that they think that the president can solve all their problems, but they at least want to feel that the president cares and is listening. The brothers need some mamala, not some Kamala, okay? So I can tell you all the stuff that she should do, and that's what I get paid to do on CNN, but it's obviously not working. So I'm trying to tell you, it's in your hands. It really, really is. If just the people in this room decided, damn it, we are going to do 100% of 100% for the next 3 weeks, just the people in this room could affect the election. That's how close it's going to be.
Do we have questions from the audience? Feel free to raise your hand or not, because this has become, here we go, right here. Yeah.
Hey.
Who are like, oh, I can't vote for Kamala because of Palestine. Oh, thank you. And I'm just like, but like what you say, and then yeah, but like how, and then I freeze up in the moment and I don't know what to say, because if that's the issue they care about, that's the issue they care about. But the way you put it, if you were living in a country that was 3 weeks away from a fascist authoritarian takeover, you know, you'd be doing something about it. So what do you have to say to anybody, but I'm thinking of like young college students who say, oh, Kamala, Palestine can't do it?
Well, so you raise a question of Palestine, and that's a longer discussion, but what I would say is this. Tomorrow always comes. Tomorrow always comes. And you have to ask yourself the question, do the people in Palestine, the people on the West Bank, the people in Gaza, are they praying for a Trump presidency? Are they praying, as bad as things are right now, I sure hope Donald Trump, Bibi Netanyahu's best friend, becomes president of the United States of America? Is that what they want? It's fine for you to, I just can't do it. I just can't bring myself to do it. Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Are you that narcissistic? Are you that much like Donald Trump that you think you are that important and your feelings are that important? If you want a better outcome for Israelis, if you want a better outcome for Palestinians, if you want a better outcome for Jews, if you want a better outcome for Muslims, you need to elect Kamala Harris. You need to elect Kamala Harris. And you're not talking to somebody who doesn't know these people, okay? I've known Kamala for 30 years. I voted for Kamala for district attorney when we lived in San Francisco. Me, Kamala, and Gavin all came up together in politics. I voted for Kamala for district attorney. I voted for Kamala for attorney general. I voted for Kamala for senator, vice president, and soon president. I know Kamala Harris very well. She is imperfect. She is imperfect. She is exponentially better than Donald Trump. Like, I would vote for Kamala Harris's toenail with great joy and affection before I would consider voting for Donald Trump. I know them both. I've worked with both of them. I was successful working with Donald Trump. I was successful working with George W. Bush. I was successful working with Biden when I worked for him. I was successful working with Obama. I know all of these people, and I'm telling you, if you want a better outcome for the Palestinians or the Israelis, the worst thing you could do is to sit back on your precious little hands and allow someone who will tell Bibi Netanyahu, turn Gaza into waterfront property and take the West Bank. That's what will happen. And so, you think you can have perfect choices? Where the hell did this generation get the idea that they get perfect choices in politics? Do you think that my parents and grandparents had perfect choices during the civil rights movement when they had to vote for Lyndon Johnson, who was using the N-word every day in the White House? Do you think that felt great? But the alternative was Barry Goldwater, who might have blown up the world. Okay? I don't know why we have this generation that believes in its heart that its feelings matter more than the facts of what's happening to people who you can rescue with your vote.
Hi. I'm a part of the Divine Nine, and we're working a great deal to help my sorority sister win this. But one of the things I want to ask you, what percentage of young people that are not registered, that's a difficult task, it seems, because they don't seem to understand the necessity and the need for it.
Look, I don't know, but I tell you, you may have more leverage, though, with people who are not very young. I have more leverage with people who are my age and older. I was born in '68, so I'm 56. I'm more than twice as old as the young people. I don't understand what they're talking about. I really don't. All these TikTok dances and stuff, I don't get it. So that's not my constituency. And I think sometimes we worry about stuff we have no leverage over. How can we get a Trump-supporting NRA member to vote for Kamala Harris? You're not going to. How can we get the young people who are if you don't know some of them, you're probably not going to be effective. I want you to think about who are the 10, 20, 30 people who I can affect, who may or may not vote, or who may not be doing all they can. Every one of you, if we took your phones out and put them up here on the stage and then projected it, the network just in this room is unbelievable. There are so many people in your phone, but forget the people you don't know. And you know how to talk to them. And you know how to ask them. And if you think about the 7 battleground states, it's really Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. Do you know anybody there? Did you go to school with anybody there? Do you have any relatives from there? Get on them. And then if not those 3, then it's North Carolina, right? Nevada, Arizona, Georgia. Do you know anybody there? That's how we're going to win. The reason I love Obama's husband is because he came out of organizing. Where is he right now? In Pennsylvania. He's fighting for every vote in Pennsylvania. He's going to be there for 27 days. I'm going there in 8 days. We can win this. We can win this. But what if it came down to you? That's a question. Did I put all my arrows in the air? Did I do 100% of 100%? When you're sitting there watching us on that Tuesday night, you got to be sitting there saying, well, I did 100% of 100%. I didn't assume that I didn't assume writing a check when I was all happy in the summertime. When I was all having a brat summer. I don't even know what that means. I didn't assume that was going to get the job done. I fought every day. I did 100% of 100%.
Get the mic.
I was just wondering if you felt the same way in the 2016 election that you do now, that we were on a glide to a Trump presidency, or did you feel different or the same, or what were the similarities and differences?
Between 2016 and now?
Yeah.
Look, I felt the exact same way 2016 and now. And if you guys remember, I was one of the few people on CNN who was saying the whole time, Trump is on a path to win. I posted on May 2016. I didn't say November now. I didn't say October. I didn't say September. I didn't say August. I didn't say June. I didn't say July. I said May 2016. I posted a 3-minute and 20-second video explaining how Trump was going to win. I got every state right except for Wisconsin. I even got the number of Supreme Court justices he was going to appoint in the first year, 3. You've heard of Nostradamus? I'm Negrodamus, okay? So when I'm telling you that this is how it felt, everybody was taking their foot off the brake, everybody was feeling self-righteous, nobody was working, that was 2016 and that's right now, and it can be changed tomorrow. It can be changed tomorrow and we can win.
This is not successful. Oh, I'm successful. Yay. Last question.
I'm not controlling the mic.
Sorry.
Hold on a second. People looking at me, waving their hands, but I don't control the mic.
So sorry. Hi. This is our last question.
What counsel would you give to a pastor who wants to keep politics out of the church but recognizes that our nation is in big trouble if Trump wins?
Are you asking for a friend?
Yes.
I think he might be asking for himself. I don't envy you. Because you have to give pastoral care to everybody. You don't care who they vote for. When that phone call comes and you have to get to that hospital and you want to walk in that ICU, you want them to be able to meet your eyes and know you love them no matter what. And so you can't walk the road of judgment. You can't walk the road of this is the righteous choice, this is the not righteous choice. Because your pastoral responsibilities trump all that. There'll be good governments and bad governments. This church has to welcome all. So I don't envy you. But I do think that character matters. I do think that character matters. I do think that it's really important for our children that they not see bad behavior rewarded at the highest level. I think that's important. I think that's important. And so I think that the prayer for the country is that people put the children first. Jesus talked about the least of these, the addicted, the afflicted, the convicted, the evicted, the least of these. And they don't just suffer for lack of material abundance. They suffer when there's a lack of moral clarity in high places. And I think it's just important to remind people, and it's not just about Trump, it's about all of us. There's a standard. There's a standard. And when we fall below that standard, and we're not honest about it, the children are watching. We're not going to be here long. And so I don't envy you at all. I don't envy you at all. And frankly, it really doesn't matter. You're a pastor here? Do you have like an online ministry or mainly here? Mainly on campus. So we're going to win California anyway, so it don't really matter. but just as a crucible that you're in, as a leader. I think being honest with your flock about the struggle you're having, being honest with your flock about how hard this is for you, being honest with your flock about how you want this to be a place where all are welcome and nobody feels judged, but that God has put something on your heart to say, a concern and a prayer for the country. And I think that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, my suspicion is that you'll be proud of yourself for having said something. The big challenge that you have in these moments of moral, social dilemma is that for some reason, Pastor, the mean people get loud and the kind people get quiet. The cruel people get very, very bold, and the kind people get very, very timid. And that's not the path that our Savior walked. That's just not. And so being a Christian, being a person of any faith, there are times where it is uncomfortable. And there's a calling on our lives to do stuff and say stuff that our flock may or may not like. So I hope that you'll find your own voice in it, and I do not envy you at all.
Thank you. Can we give another round of applause to Van
wait.
Jones and Alex Cohen? Oh, one more thing. If you'd like.
Wait. I want to just acknowledge that I have family in the audience. When I told my story, I skipped over these, I'm just going to be very honest, these ungrateful, unemployed people I have in my family. I don't know how they got here. They're on my tax returns. I don't know. But one of the greatest things about the children that I have from my first marriage is that they got a chance to be nurtured and given instruction by their grandparents. And there's nothing like, as you know, when you have little kids, being able to entrust your children to great-grandparents, to fantastic grandparents, to grandparents who have already raised fantastic kids and are now taking all that wisdom and putting it on your children. And in particular, Jana's mom and stepdad, when my children were very small, had a ranch. So not only did they get the direct love and that sort of stuff, they had the example of seeing their grandfather handling horses, handling cattle, surveying the land, getting to ride on little tractors and go down to the little pond. And that ain't ordinary for little Negro children. So I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate the fact that I've always felt welcome, I've always felt seen, I've always felt loved, I've always felt encouraged by Royce and Sue, who are right there, the grandparents of my children. So thank you very much. I love you. I love you very much. You done good. You done good. And good night.
Oh. Thank you so much. You were a lovely audience. We had a wonderful conversation. Please join us again Tuesday night for Andy Roddick, back here at Garrison Theater. Thank you again for coming. You've been a wonderful audience.